In a world where carbs are your enemy, you need one man to help you fight your battles. That man is Jimmy.
Combating nutrition disinformation and general bull. It's Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com.
What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another Instagram Live, and we're here with another episode of Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website, and if you want to engage live in the content, you got to go follow me over on Instagram Live. I'm at Living Low Carb Man, LIVIN, Once you're there, you can engage live, just like all these people are doing right now. Welcome in, guys. What's up, Keto Naughty? I see my buddy here. If you missed the live, you can watch it on replay for up to 24 hours. After 24 hours, it does disappear. You'll need to go over to YouTube, type in a keyword search, Jimmy Rants. You will find the show. Finally, we do have the best of the best moments of this here show in podcast form. It's the Jimmy Rants podcast over on Apple Podcasts and Stitcher. All of these links, you guys, are at JimmyRants.com. Today's Jimmy Rants, you'll know that I'm still on the topic of fasting. And so for those of you that haven't been paying attention to Jimmy Rants lately, on Sunday on social media, I posted a challenge for people that would be willing to go on a 7-day fast. And not just any old 7-day fast, a water and salt only fast. And so I've had, no lie, you guys, 1,700 people reach out to me. That's literally all I've been doing the last few days, is keeping up with all these people that want to do this fast. And so it's really exciting to see the enthusiasm of so many of you guys about this. So yesterday I did a video introducing the challenge. Last night I talked about the do's and don'ts of extended fasting. And then this morning I did a video all about the myths of fasting, extended fasting, and it came from this book, The Complete Guide to Fasting. This is my international best-selling book with Dr. Jason Fung, which you can get in paperback, ebook, and audiobook. The audiobook read by me, by the way. So if you're not sick of my voice, go get the audiobook. And so all of those videos right now, if you want to go back and watch them, we have them all conveniently embedded at JimmyRants.com, and really all of them in this series we're going to have available to you. So go check out any that you might have missed. I'm so happy those of you that are here live are here. The question I asked earlier on my Instagram stories, though, was what are your major concerns with doing 7-day water and salt fasting? And I got so many responses, guys. I'm going to have to blitz through these really fast because I know you guys have questions as well. And I want to try to get to those. If it turns out we run out of time, maybe when I'm done with all the sticker ones, I'll come back and answer your questions. So hang with me. I got a ton. Maybe some of your questions will be answered in the course of these sticker responses. So let me go find those questions. And I'm not seeing the questions now. Where did it go? All right, well, I had it set up so that I could answer the stickers, and for some reason, it's not showing me the responses to that one. Grrr. All right, well, I guess we're going to have to freestyle it. I can remember a few of them off the top of my head, so please, if you asked a question, you're going to ask it live now, because apparently the stickers, I had all those stickers ready to go, man, and yeah, that didn't work. Okay. All right. So I know one of the ones was about muscle loss, and we addressed that one this morning on the myths. So go back and watch what I said this morning about muscle loss. You do not lose muscle. One that I know came up very often in a lot of the questions that came in was, well, I can't do an extended fast of 7 days because I have to still function in my daily life. And I'm going to be weaker and weaker and weaker if I do an extended fast. Can I just dispel that one really fast? Because everybody thinks, well, if you're not eating food, then you're just going to get considerably weaker and weaker and weaker as the fast goes on. Can I tell you that's not what actually happens? What I have personally seen happen doing extended fasting a lot myself is, okay, yeah, that first day, it's like an intermittent fast, really not so bad. Day 2 is kind of difficult. And so you get through day 2, you might feel a little weaker in day 2. But by day 3 and on to 4, 5, 6, 7, you actually see a boost in your energy, a boost in your mood. And it's not this gloom and doom that you think it is. So let's not think that you're going to get just progressively hungrier and hungrier and hungrier, weaker and weaker and weaker. It simply doesn't work that way. And of course, worrying about it is going to make you have a self-fulfilling prophecy of feeling weaker and hungrier and all that. So don't do that. Know that day 2 is the hardest. So then somebody else, I remember, asked the question, how do you get through day 2? I'll tell you what I do. So day 1's pretty darn easy because I'm used to intermittent fasting, 1 meal a day, no big deal. Day 2 can be difficult because you have this intense feeling that you need to eat. And of course, some people say, well, that means you need to listen to your body and end the fast. No. Usually what it is one of 2 major things on a fast. By day 2, your body is already realizing, genius up there is deciding not to give us any energy. So let's send really strong signals that we would like some energy. Okay, so then you start getting the rumbles and you start kind of feeling blah, and your body's trying desperately to send you a signal that it wants to eat. This is what we call waves of hunger. So if you can survive the wave, one of the ways you can survive, Redmons real salt. Get this, guys. And I like the Redmons because they have minerals in them. And it's a higher quality salt, and it tastes good. This is the one that I use and am going to use during the fast. I also have these fasting drops from Keto Ciao, which have concentrated forms of sodium and magnesium in it. And when you have those feelings and those waves of hunger on day 2, that is how you survive. Salt, and then lots and lots of water. So have those on hand. Don't go through the day and get dehydrated. Don't go through the day and become electrolyte deficient. You have got to stay ahead of it. And on day 2, try to keep yourself busy with things not thinking about food, because I will tell you now, day 2 is hell. Day 2 will be the hardest day of this entire fast of 7 days. And if you've never done a fast before longer than 24 hours, day 2 is going to really be hard. Something fascinating that I've noticed, having done this many times, day 2 is still hard, but it's not near as hard as it was when I first started. It's kind of like when you're first learning to ride a bicycle and you fall off the bike and skin your knee. That's the first time you fast. Now I can pop wheelies. And occasionally I'll fall off, but most of the time I'm popping wheelies and doing pretty good. So that was another popular question. I'm trying to think if there's any others that come to mind as it relates to the major concerns people have about fasting. One of them is, how do I cook food for my family? How is that possible, Jimmy, that I could possibly eat food and then my family not thinking strange of me because I'm not eating with them? A real concern. I mean, it's more of a cultural thing of, if you sit together as a family, and you should, and have a meal together, why isn't mommy eating? So I mentioned earlier on the Jimmy Rants from this morning about the myths. You could make yourself a soup that is water and some of the Redmond salt. And you could sit there and have your soup and eat your soup. and be a part of the communal process of having a meal together. I think sometimes we try to make this too hard. And of course, being around the food is a little bit much for some people. I will tell you, I've been deep into a 21-day fast before, like 14, 15 days in, and I'm cooking bacon for Christine. And whether you give in to that feeling of, okay, I want that, I never do. I never have really felt tempted by that, because when I'm on a fast, my mindset is I'm doing this with a purpose in mind. And so if you come into this willy-nilly, flippantly, thinking it's going to fail, and then you smell bacon and then it's all she wrote, you deserve that. You need to go into it with the mindset of, okay, I'm doing this for me. I've resolved to do 7 full days of fasting, or at least pursuing 7 full days. And I'm not going to let anything deter me from that goal. And if you go into it with that strong mindset that this is what you're going to do, it's why you want to do it, is for your health, and that you're going to do it, then guess what? Ain't nothing going to deter you. No hamburger, no steak, no bacon, no whatever that you're making for your family to eat. Nothing will kick you off of there. So I want to hear what you guys have to say. And again, if you joined us late, we're talking about the major concerns that people are having with doing a 7-day water and salt fast and fasting period. I had a whole bunch of stickers ready to go, and for some reason, Instagram's not letting me access those particular questions. I had a whole bunch of them ready to go. I'm looking at it one more time, and I am simply not seeing it. So we're going to come to you guys. So welcome in. Shoot me your questions that you have about extended fasting, what your concerns are, and I think we'll be able to get a lot of good content out here. Let's see here. So the Keto Girl has a great question, and this came up quite a bit in a lot of the stickers too. So please keep your questions coming, guys. So what about coffee? Do I have to have no coffee? Because I'm calling it a water and salt fast. Okay. So if you want to have black coffee, then have your black coffee. If you think it's going to give you some kind of a benefit in the midst of a fast. I'm becoming more and more convinced that when you are water and salt fasting, that the less variables that you throw into the mix, the better. When you strip it down to just water and salt and electrolytes, then you're not really introducing anything that could be a potential harm. And you're thinking, black coffee, why would that be a harm? Well, for some people, caffeine can be a stimulant for insulin production. And if you're trying to fast, you do not want to be stimulating insulin. That is going to stoke hunger like nobody's business. And I found that when you're fasting, extended fasting, and you introduce something like a stimulant like caffeine, some people get that insulin response. The hunger isn't just a little bit of hunger. It's a whole lot of hunger. And so why do that to yourself? Now, if you fasted before and you haven't had any problems using black coffee, then by all means, have your black coffee and enjoy it. But my concern, and the reason I'm really putting a finer point on this fasting for 7 days with water and salt and electrolytes, is I'm trying to help you avoid some of those pitfalls that might come up. Because what will happen is you'll use the black coffee and you'll stoke an insulin response, you'll start to get hungry, and then you'll blame it on the fasting and not on the black coffee. That makes sense? So your mileage may vary. If you want to try it and see how you do, if you start to get ravenously hungry, don't say I didn't warn you. It could be the coffee. And somebody else said, well, just drink decaf. Well, decaf still has some caffeine in it, so you have to be aware of that if you do that. I finally downloaded Instagram so I can join everyone on the fast. I normally watch on YouTube. I'm so excited. Well, Shirley, welcome. I'm glad that you're here. AK Hobbs says, major concern, coffee. There it is. I am allowing coffee if you feel good on it, but I'm urging you to try it without the coffee. Yeah, look at all you coffee holics, man. Keto girl, keto holic. All of you guys, you love your coffee. And see, I don't relate because I just think coffee is disgusting. I'm a hyper taster, and so I have never liked coffee. Ketoholic, are we doing Jason Fung's guide okay on fats and cream and bone broth? No. And I talked about this before. When Jason and I put in a splash of cream in your coffee and having bone broth, maybe some kombucha, guys, I think that's the major mistake that a lot of people make when they go on a fast. Because the moment that you introduce any nutrition, even limited in calories that it is, your body thinks it's feasting time. So why fool your body into thinking that it's feasting time and it has to handle the protein that would come from the bone broth that you consume, or the sugar that is in the kombucha that you consume, or even the fat and protein and carbs that are in the heavy cream that you put in your coffee? Why do that to yourself? You're just setting yourself up for failure. And guys, I'm trying to impart wisdom on you of all these failed things that I did. And one of the things that I did was thinking I had to have a little something when I'm fasting. So when I first started, I did the bone broth with the salt. I did the kombucha, and I did, all these little things that you are allowed to. Can I just cut to the chase and say the best I've ever felt doing an extended fast is doing it with water, salt, and electrolytes? So I'm trying to help you not blame fasting for some of the things that will manifest itself if you choose to do this with black coffee, you choose to do this with bone broth, you choose to do this with fats and heavy cream and other things. Just know I've been through it all, and it weren't pretty. And so I say try it, water and salt and electrolytes only. It's just 7 days. That way you can know what it feels like. And you might be surprised just how well you feel. Ann says, for those asking about coffee yesterday, he said it's okay. And yeah, thank you. Yes, I have addressed it, and I have a feeling I'm going to continue to have to address it again and again. Insta with Justin says, what should exercise be like during a 7-day fast? Excellent question, Justin. So here's my thinking about exercise. Everybody thinks, okay, I have a great exercise routine. I don't want to get out of the routine. So do I fast in the midst, or do I exercise in the midst of the fast? My philosophy on this is, if you're doing very glycolytically demanding heavy lifting workouts, then no. If you're doing some kind of an aerobic exercise, let's say you do a yoga class, let's say you do something that's like walk on the treadmill, walking, mowing your grass, I think all of those things, yes, you can do. The major thing you don't want to do in the midst of a 7-day fast is to put your body in a further stressed state. And so by introducing exercise into a fast, you're adding an added stressor on top of the fasting. So, and I've said this before on other Jimmy Rants recently, you've got to think about this 7 days as being in therapy and recovery from an injury with a physical therapist. And in this case, instead of a muscle or some part of your body that you're trying to rehabilitate, you're trying to rehabilitate your metabolism. So lay aside, just for this 7 days, which by the way is from July the 5th through the 1 week later, and you're going to do this to heal your body. And if you look at it in that many terms and understand that you have a purpose in mind with this, it helps you stay on the straight and narrow and not do other things that could exacerbate your attempt at doing this fast. One of the things that I have found exercising in the midst of doing an extended fast is when I'm done exercising, my body is starving. So why do that to yourself? So if you're a regular heavy lifter of weights, this 7 days is going to be your reset and rest week. So you've got to think of it that way. And here's the fun part. When you just use water and salt, you're going to turn on growth hormone fasting for 7 days. You're going to obviously produce a lot of autophagy, which will clean up a lot of the dead proteins and cells that are in the body. You're going to provide so much rest for your pancreas that your insulin will work a lot more efficiently so that when you get back to the gym, when the fast is over, 1 week from July the 5th, you're able to get back to the gym again. I want you to go all out. I want you to lift heavy. And what you probably will find out is you'll start breaking personal records. You'll get new PRs. So I'm excited for the people that do this. Ann says, no bone broth, no heavy cream, no artificial sweeteners, just water and salt. That's right. And it's for your good. I'm not saying that to be the fasting Nazi about it. I'm just trying to say, hey, look, learn from my mistakes. I made a lot of mistakes when I first started fasting that I've now corrected, realizing that water and salt only tends to be the best. Karen says, for me, day 2 is all mental. And it is mental. When you get into that mindset, Karen, of thinking, oh my gosh, I better eat something, your brain is screaming at you that day. And guys, you can't say that you didn't know. I'm warning you now. Day 2, your body's going to be screaming loud that you need to eat. And I know on that day when I come on Jimmy Rants and I'm trying to walk you off the ledge, you're going to want to quit. Can I just urge you, get through day 2? Because if you get through day 2 and sometimes those symptoms linger into day 3 for some people, but day 2's the hardest. By day 3, 4 and beyond, that's when the magic of doing an extended fast happens. You get through the pain of day 2 to enjoy the beautiness of day 4, 5, 6, 7. That makes sense? So don't fret day 2. Just know that it's coming, and then have the salt and the water and the electrolytes all ready to go. But guess what? I'm going to be right here with you guys going through day 2 as well. So when it sucks, it'll suck with me as well, and we'll all suck together. Nancy says, I'm concerned about a 7-day extended fast reactivating an eating disorder that I had in the past. Are there any studies on that? I'm not aware of any studies about it. I don't know what your eating disorder was, if it's anorexia, if it was bulimia. I don't know what your eating disorder was, but this is not an eating disorder. I've actually had a friend that recently did a 3-day fast, and she was told in no uncertain terms by her mother that she has an eating disorder doing a 3-day fast. Fasting is different because with an eating disorder, you have no control over it. And that's the biggest difference. With fasting, you stay in total control. If at any point it just becomes way too much that you simply can't bear it anymore, and you've done all the tricks, the water, the salt, the electrolytes, and nothing is helping you, then you can end the fast. And there's no shame in that. And let me reiterate something. If you commit to do this 7-day fast, and the longest you've ever gone is 24 hours, then if you go 48 hours, you've just immediately doubled the longest fast you've ever done. Okay? So if you ended at 48 hours because you couldn't take it anymore, guess what? You just set a new record for the length of time that you fast. And you built that muscle to the point that you're not only 1 day of fasting, now you've gone 2 days of fasting, so that the next time you attempt to fast, you can make it to 3, 4, 5 days of fasting. And you slowly build your way up. And I think that's the way you need to look at it. That it's going to be something that you're not trying to play the hero. You're not white knuckling it 7 days just because Jimmy Moore's inviting you to do this. I'm doing 7 days because I want to show you guys, some of you guys that are skeptical, that you could do it. It's a cool accomplishment when you realize that you can do a 1-week fast. And I said this before too, but most people would never fast for 24 hours, much less for a whole week. And so for a lot of you, this is going to be an eye-opening experience. It's going to be a life-changing experience, one that you've never had before in your life, because you don't realize how much of your eating and the timing of your meals and when you eat and how much you don't realize how much of that is based on habit. And so we're trying to break that habit somewhat, and that's what fasting helps you to do. And I mentioned this morning, that a lot of my friends that did that recent 3-day fast with Redmons Real Salt, they did an open 3-day fast with a lot of the keto people, And many of them reported that when they started eating again, they had their meal and then they fasted for like 18 to 20 hours. And so it was just spontaneously happening because a lot of them got in the mindset of, okay, I don't need to eat as much as I thought I did. Pretty cool. Shirley says, I'll be at a convention from the 5th through the 8th, so I'll be plenty distracted. Oh, that's cool. Okay, so you'll be doing this while you're at a convention, and you redeem time. This is the thing I love the best about extended fasting. You don't have to think about meal prep for breakfast, lunch, dinner. You don't have to think about cooking unless you're the mom in the house or the person that takes care of the food. You don't have to worry about any of that. And what do? You get back time. And you also get back money in your pocket that you would have spent on food for yourself for the week. You don't have to spend it. Pretty cool, huh? The Keto Girl says, I will take coffee and some lemon juice in my water with salt. Perfect. Rich says, when is this 7-day starting? July the 5th. So those of you that are watching this after July the 5th, don't worry about it. All this information is more for your purposes to watch for the time that you do. I'm probably going to do another one of these fasts before I leave on my sabbatical. I'll do another one of these fasts in, say, mid to late August. So if you're not able to join me for the July 5th fast, we will be doing it again before I leave for 6 months. Ketoholic, I cook and serve my family and then walk away. That's the way to do it. Because I mentioned earlier about how you cook in the midst of doing a fast. You just cook the food. And then when they're eating, you don't have to participate. Heather says it's an ultimate mental challenge. It really is, Heather. And you yourself have been through so much with keto and cancer and all kind of stuff that you've dealt with. You're pretty mentally tough because you built that muscle. And so think of it that way too. I want you guys to go into this with such a positive attitude that you're going to succeed. That's where it comes in. People get discouraged so freaking easy. And it's one reason I'm doing this so openly here on Jimmy Rants is I want you to know I'm your buddy. I'm your mentor during this whole period. I don't want you to feel like you're alone in this. And you won't be alone in this because I'll be on here twice a day in the midst of the fast. I want you to know everything will be okay. Because it will. And I think having that assurance of, okay, Jimmy's going to talk to me in a few hours. I'm going to do it in the morning, do it at night, in the afternoon, kind of this time. So that's going to help you guys so much. At least I hope it does. I like that soup idea for the kids, says Barb. Not a bad idea, but not for them to fast. They should definitely eat soup. Are there any suggestions on taking your medications that need to be taken with food? So Nancy, I addressed this one this morning. Somebody asked that question. And what we put in the complete guide to fasting is if you have medications that require you to eat, then you have a small little amount of food. So like a little small salad, and just a few leafy greens, just something to get on the belly, and then you take your medicine. That is an extenuating circumstance. If it's a diabetes medicine, make sure you're checking with your doctor because it may be that you don't need the full dosage while you are fasting because you're giving your pancreas a break. Your insulin's not going to be pumping out near like it was. So if you're on some kind of an insulin modulating drug, you need to be aware fasting is going to probably make that drug irrelevant in the midst of it. So talk to your doctor. AK Hobbs says, for me, day 1 and 2 are easy, but it's day 3 that's not pretty. Yeah, day 2, it's somewhere between day 2 and 3 for people that are keto adapted, because most of us easily intermittent fast, almost spontaneously. So day 1's easy. Day 2, and like I said, into day 3 can be the challenging part for so many people. Is non-flavored sparkling water okay, says Ketoholic. Yeah. And then she also asked about lemon, putting lemon in your water. Just be careful adding things in because, yeah, lemon's innocuous, but lemon does have micro amounts of carbohydrate in it. And even that little bit of carbohydrate can cause you to go off the rails. I talked about in the Complete Guide to Fasting the story the first time I ever did a 1 week fast. I got all the way to day 7, and day 7 was on a Sunday. And that Sunday in church, we had communion. So we had the little juice cup and the little wafer. The wafer probably had maybe 6 grams of flour carbs. The juice cup probably had 8 grams of sugar from the grape juice. And that's all it took for me to go in full-on hypoglycemia, hunger, cravings, fatigue. I remember laying on the bed for 2 hours. Christine's like, will you please eat? And I'm like, I'm hours away from ending a 7-day fast. I finally relented, and it weren't pretty. So don't get to that. Don't do anything that might be a saboteur in this. That's what I'm trying to help you avoid, guys. Is if you go down this rabbit hole, well, what about, and you start adding those things, and then you have a deleterious effect, you're going to blame the fasting. And I'm here to tell you, if you want to avoid all those things, do water, do salt, do electrolytes, and you're going to be happy that you did that because you avoided some of the ill effects that can come from adding all these other things in. Barb says, try cooking something for your family that you don't personally like. So the problem is you personally probably like a lot of things that your family would like. Unless it's all carbs that you make for them, then you wouldn't. Like recently I was at family vacation and I was asked to cook one of the nights, and they had already set aside that they were cooking spaghetti. So the keto guy got to cook spaghetti. I cooked it and didn't eat a darn bit of it. Oh, Barry Babe, you have a great question. I'm currently at my goal weight. I'm afraid that I'm going to lose too much weight. Can I tell you that that's an irrational concern? I know it seems so, wow, you're going to lose weight. Of course you're going to lose weight not eating. But let me tell you, the body is very adaptable. There are people who are able to go on a fast and they think that they're just going to lose a ton of weight, and they lose maybe a 1/4 pound to a 1/2 pound a day. Then there's other people who do need to lose weight, but they don't just lose a 1/4 to a 1/2 pound a day. They could lose up to a pound, 1.5 pounds a day. And so the more insulin resistant you are and the more body fat that you have on your body, you're probably going to surpass that 1/2 pound. You're going to surpass it greatly, probably up to a pound, 1.5 pounds a day. If you're more insulin sensitive and maybe at goal weight and maybe don't have the metabolic issues, you're going to have less weight loss. Here's the fun part. For those of you that are at goal weight, your body, once you start eating again, will completely normalize. So don't worry about the fat loss because it will come back on once you're eating again. And for people that are insulin resistant, they're getting that benefit that's making them more insulin sensitive in the midst of the fast, so that when they start eating again, the insulin resistance has healed, and so that weight can remain off. Does that make sense? So don't worry about that is the bottom line. A bartender GS says, I do 48-hour fast, but my wife does not like anything longer than that because it makes her feel bad because she's eating. Well, tell her not to feel bad. Say you don't feel bad. And quite frankly, can I be honest and blunt? It ain't about her. It's about you and what you're choosing to do. And so if you choose that you want to do this for your health, what she feels has no bearing on you and what you're doing. Do what you got to do. It's about you. How about other forms of electrolytes? Yeah, whatever electrolytes you want to use. I happen to like Redmons Real Salt, and I happen to like the Keto Ciao fasting drops. Jimmy loves KetoCiao.com. They'll give you 10% off with LLVLC, and specifically the fasting drops. They do have another product called Electrolyte Drops, which doesn't have near as much salt, but it also adds potassium, magnesium, and all that stuff. So pick and choose what works for you. Trix says, I'm concerned about getting dizzy. Just joined, not sure if it was addressed. Nobody's asked about it yet, but dizziness is a sign of electrolyte imbalance. So what I was just showing on the screen, salt, 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 salt. Electrolytes, 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 electrolytes. You've got to stay on top of that. And I would say stay ahead of it. If you're feeling dizzy, you've allowed yourself to become, and the other thing, hydration. If you've gotten dizzy, you've allowed yourself to become dehydrated. You've allowed yourself to be depleted in these electrolytes. Guys, I cannot stress it enough. This is your magic elixir in the midst of a fast. And you don't believe me, allow yourself to get to that point where you're having dizziness and fatigue and hunger, and don't do electrolytes, you're going to be miserable. So stay ahead of it. I would say when you go into day 2 of the fast, just go ahead and just preemptively just start popping salt, drinking your water that's got the fasting drops or whatever other electrolyte drops that you use. And if you do that, you'll stay ahead of that. You should not feel dizzy. Dizzy is a sign possibly of hypoglycemia, but you should not have hypoglycemia if you're managing your blood sugar. It's going to go down, obviously, but like we talked about earlier, you're also going to see a corresponding rise in your blood ketones. And the reason day 2 is so hard is you're at that point where ketones have not quite gone up, blood sugar has not quite dropped a lot, but it's going to start to drop before your blood ketones have gone up. By day 3, 4, ketones shoot up, blood sugar goes down, and that's when you start to feel better. So it's not surprising that in day 2, you're kind of in that flux. So in that state of flux, realize it's at that point more than any other time in the fast that you need to hydrate, 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 salt, 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 electrolyte, electrolyte, electrolyte. Trust me on this, guys. Don't let it get to the point where you're symptomatic of those things. Stay ahead of it, and you'll thank me later. I fasted for 7 days. Coffee and cream is fine. Did not make me hungry like in your book. Great. So if that's something that makes you feel good and you can do it, great. I'm just trying to help the newbies that have never done one like this before, that it can be a challenge to have those things in there. Finally caught you live. Well, welcome, Gina. Thanks for being here. Anita says, I'm a tea addict. I'm giving it up for 7 days. Tea's probably just like coffee. You know, it's like you're going to have the possible insulin response from the caffeine that's in it. But if you're going to do tea, do it unsweet, and no other additives in there. It's probably fine. Caption KC, my biggest problem is boredom and the urge to munch that it brings. Going to have to line up my to-do list. That's the thing. See, I always love questions where they answer their own question. Caption KC, you know what to do. You keep yourself busy. And especially since you're redeeming back some time that you didn't have before, because you normally use that time to cook and to clean and to eat. Now you've got all that extra time. Do those things that you've always wanted to do. And worst case scenario is if it becomes too much inside your house, go take a walk. Walk around the block. That is completely fine. And what you'll do is you'll start to feel better because of the walking, and then everything will calm down and you'll be okay. People psych themselves out about this, and I don't want people to do that. So the fast starts on July the 5th, Rich. Thanks for being here. Are magnesium and potassium pills okay? Well, when you get to the pills, your body has to digest those, and that could stoke hunger as well, which is why the drops tend to work a little bit better. Plus, they're concentrated, so you don't have to take as much of it, but your body will have to digest pills, and digestion stokes hunger. And then the salt also will help with that. Are we doing it together on an app like Life or just on Instagram with tags? So I'm going to be checking in daily, Ketoholic, here on Instagram Live on this Jimmy Rants. I'll be doing twice daily all throughout the 7 days, and probably a day or two afterwards, just to check in on you guys to see how you're doing. So you will have daily support here on Jimmy Rants. Trick says, got dizzy a few times doing a 72-hour fast. Is that electrolyte imbalance? Probably. Electrolyte imbalance / dehydration. So make sure that you're drinking water and don't drink alcohol when you're fasting. You want to feel buzzed. You're going to feel buzzed if you try drinking alcohol in like 7th day of a fast. I supplemented about every few hours with salt substitute, potassium and magnesium, as well as Redmond's real salt. Good. Jesse says coffee is my precious, but I'll forgo it. I might be moody though. LOL. Inhale, exhale. I can do it. Jesse, I'll be here for you, sweetie, if you need me. I promise. Ketoholic, what about a running workout like sprints and a mile run? If you're doing sprints, that's very glycolytically demanding. I've done sprints. I've done HIIT training. That's very intensive. Just be careful with that. Remember, your focus here is not exercise with a fast. Your focus is healing your metabolism. And it's only 7 days. You'll get right back to it when you get back on eating again. Common question, supplements. I'm nervous about letting go of the methylated folate. It's my mental anchor. That's a challenge, Jesse, and I definitely don't want to take it away from you or tell you you can't have it. I would say if you feel like you need it, is it something that you take with food? Have, just like a medication, what we said earlier, have a little bit of something just to get it on the stomach. But if you can take it on an empty stomach and you feel good doing it, then keep doing it. But here's the thing. Some of the mental benefits that you're getting from that, I wonder how much you'll get benefit from just the pure fasting and then the huge boost in the ketones that happen in day 3, day 4. And I think it could be really interesting for you as an experiment to see what happens and to see how you feel, because that's kind of the cool thing that I don't think anybody ever talks about in the context of doing extended fasting. The mood stabilization and the brain optimization that happens doing something like a 7-day fast, you can't put a price on it, guys. You think you feel good in a ketogenic state, and you should. You ain't felt nothing yet till you get deep into 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days of not eating food at all and only having water and salt. It's pretty spectacular. Ketoholic wants to know how much salt. So how much salt is as much as you need. There is no limit. I mean, I've got this whole container here, and if I have like a little bit of time, I pop in my mouth. Okay, a little bit more and it pop in my mouth. The cool thing about salt is if you consume a lot of it beyond what you need, your body's going to excrete it. So just stay ahead of it. Don't over salt at any given time. Just kind of do it periodically throughout the day, and don't worry about, well, I haven't had, or I've had 3 teaspoons today, and oh, is that enough? And no, it's not about that. Just know you're probably going to dump a lot more salt than you would even on a ketogenic diet, so that's why you're having to replenish it. Okay, so SAS and keto, that's a general question. We're trying to talk about the major concerns of doing a 7-day water and salt fasting. She's asking about ending the fast. Guys, I'm going to be around all this week and all next week. And when we get close to the end of the fast, I will tell you how you can reintroduce foods, because there is a very specific strategy you need to employ. And definitely pick up a copy of the Complete Guide to Fasting. Real easy to get on Amazon. If you got Amazon Prime, you'll get it in a couple of days in paper form, or if you like Kindle or audiobook, you'll get it immediately. And we address a lot of these things that I'm talking about here, but we'll talk about how you reintroduce foods, but it's not quite ready. You're jumping the gun on me, so hang tight, Sass. Jordan says, hey Jordan, I struggle with binge eating, so sometimes an extended fast will trigger it. Focus on having bone broth when you break it, and then eggs, and then meat with no carbs. See, Jordan answered the question for you. That's good. Thank you for that, Jordan. Deanna says, I even had to end a 70-hour fast. Still considered it a success and a learning experience. I needed more salt. Yes, Deanna. I don't want anybody going into this 7 days thinking, oh, if I don't make the 7 days, Jimmy's going to be so disappointed with me. Can I just be honest with you? The fact that you're willing to try this, I'm already proud of you. I'm already proud of you. 7 days is not a big deal for me anymore because I've done a bunch of these. And I want you to get to the point where you feel so comfortable doing a fast like this that it's not a big deal for you either. That's my goal with this. And if it means this time you made it 48 hours and the longest you did before was 24, celebrate. If it means this time you do 72 hours and you've only been able to do 48 hours, celebrate. And even if you fall short of the longest fast you've ever done, celebrate that you gave it a go. You gave it the old college try. And the major concern you should be worried about is, well, what if I have just uncontrollable hunger in the midst of doing an extended fast of 7 days? If you get to the point where you have uncontrollable hunger, I need you to take stock in what's going on. Are you stressed? Are you a woman about to start your period? Are you having other mitigating things that could be contributing to this? Don't blame it on the fast. Blame it on the circumstances that caused that to happen. So try to meditate possibly with some of these extra hours that you have from not eating. Use that time to meditate, relax, put your body in a state where you will be successful. Because if you plan to succeed, don't be surprised when you do. And when you don't plan to succeed, don't be surprised when you fail. That makes sense? And I think you can easily get in your own way here. And I'm trying to clear all of the obstacles out of the way before you start, because if you go into this with the right mindset, you will succeed. Jesse says the longest I went was 5.5 days, so we're going to see. Jesse, if you've gone 5.5 days, you're going to make 7, sweetie. I promise you. Robin says 30 plus year eating disorder, keto and fasting for 4.5 years, many extended fasts of 7+ days. It is different. For me, it's about why I'm doing it. Eating disorder managed with keto and fasting. And Robin, you are a rock star. I'm going to definitely lean on you in the midst of this to chime in with some of your comments about it as well. Val says, wasn't the longest fast over 300 days? I'm not asking myself to beat that so I can do this. So yes, it was like 340 days. The guy was 700 pounds and he was in really bad metabolic shape. So obviously he was medically supervised going that long, but he was able to come off of so many drugs. He lost a ton of weight, but not recommended. As I've said before, the reason we're doing 7 days is based on my own experience. You go too much below 7 days, you don't get all the full benefits that I think you get at 7. You go too much over 7 days, there's kind of this law of diminishing returns. 5 to 7 is kind of the sweet spot that you're shooting for. Not that you don't get benefit from intermittent fasting, not that you don't get benefit if you do a 2-3 day fast, but if you really want to get autophagy and turning over the cells and insulin kind of going under control and healing your metabolism a little bit more to improve insulin resistance, become more insulin sensitive, 5 to 7 days of water and salt and electrolytes seems to be that sweet spot. So that's where we're trying to get to. Tracy says, I need some Terry Black's barbecue before the fast. Yeah, I'm already trying to figure out, okay, what's that last meal going to be? Because it's going to be really fatty proteins. That's for sure. And yes, I wish I could get some of that stuff. Fasting feels like next level mental toughness, says Heather. Yeah, fasting is not for the faint of heart. And fasting is very much advanced keto. If you're trying fasting, you're well keto adapted. If you're trying to do this not well keto adapted, can I just urge you, do it well keto adapted, get well keto adapted first, and then try this? Because I just think you're setting yourself up for pain. That's needless. Your body is going to become incredibly efficient at burning fat for fuel when you go keto. So if you're not already efficiently burning fat for fuel in a ketogenic state, and then you try to go into the ultimate fat for fuel of pure water and salt fasting, you're just asking for your body to rebel, much more so than it will any of us that are ketogenic. Traveling Keto Cat, hey Cat, says, I love keto food so much, the fear of missing out. Well, it's for 7 days. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, I could never give up for 7 days. It's 7 days. Yawn. It's such a short period of time. And again, when you look at it as I'm doing this as therapy, physical therapy recovery for my metabolism, when you view it in that way, it doesn't become this, well, I want to eat. It becomes this, I'm choosing not to eat for a very specific period of time for a very specific purpose in my life. And so if you're not ready and you have the fear of missing out, I know you're joking, Kat, but if you have that fear of missing out on the keto foods, just know that when you come back from a 7-day fast and you start eating those keto foods again, that is the most glorious food you put in your mouth. It really is. Is potassium needed or just sodium and magnesium? Thank you for that, Gene. So yes, and we address this in the Complete Guide to Fasting as well. The body is good at regulating levels of potassium when you have adequate amounts of salt. So this is where having Redmons sea salt, or Redmons real salt, and some of these fasting drops that has more sodium and some magnesium in it, when you have these things on hand, your body will automatically adjust the levels of potassium in your body. So people, I need to add potassium. No, you really don't. Your body will regulate that naturally. I'll miss the communal part of eating, says Kat. Yeah, and we talked about that earlier. If you want the communal part of eating, put some water in a bowl, heat it up, mix in some of the Redmond salt, and then you have your fasting soup. And then that's what you eat with your family and with your friends in that communal setting. I know, it sucks, but it's only a short period of time. Any tips for insomnia while you're extended fasting? I usually have really bad insomnia, low quality sleep during extended fasting. So Gene, that generally happens in the early time. So day 1, you shouldn't have any problems with sleep. Day 2, that night, you might. And I've talked about this before, that when you are fasting, your body's going through, some pretty major metabolic changes. And it could be that you'll have disturbed sleep, but it won't last the whole week. You might have that one night, day 2 or day 3, where sleep's just kind of bleh. But then you're going to find that once your ketones go higher, your insulin goes lower, your inflammation goes lower, your blood sugar goes lower, you start to lose some weight, you'll sleep like a baby. And here's the fun part. You'll sleep less in the bed, less time, but more efficiently. And it's the most wicked thing, because people are like, I didn't get a good night's sleep. What happened? Do you not feel good? No, I feel great, but it was only 6 hours. Okay, but how do you know you didn't get a good night's sleep? It was only 6 hours. Okay, but you feel good, right? You're not hungry, right? That's a good thing. Your body doesn't have to go through near the repair to the body when you're already repairing because you're fasting. So look at your periods of fasting in this 7 days as taking the place of some of the things that you do when you're sleeping. It's a cool thing when you stop and think about it. Carnivore Keto Coach reminds us that fasting is still eating just from your own fat stores instead of from an animal. Yes. And this is another thing that is a major concern. Well, how do you not eat at all? And we addressed it in the mist this morning about how you get your nutrients when you're fasting. Your body is eating. Your body's eating right now, whether you've eaten food an hour ago, whether you ate it 24 hours ago, your body is eating right now. And it's not eating muscle, it is eating the stored body fat. That is how the body works. Stored body fat is literally on the body as a source of energy in the absence of food. So if you're fasting for 7 days, your body's still eating. And I think we got to get over this concern that, you don't eat anything, you're just going to pass out. No, you're not. You've got plenty of energy on your body to tap into. And the fun part about fasting is you're putting your body into that state where you're tapping into it very efficiently. Because you're not eating any foods, you're lowering insulin requirements. The body's just going to go, thank you. And it's going to release these fat stores into your blood. And we mentioned this morning. Sometimes your blood sugar will see a slight little rise. When you do that, it's nothing to worry about. There's little pockets of sugar that are deep within your fat stores. There's also some toxins that can be in those fat stores. So as you release them, you may have a little bit of a feeling of, but just know that sometimes when you're releasing those deep fat stores, which you want to, you're going to have some of that happen. I usually gain back what I lose, says Robin, but any inflammation and other issues are gone. Yeah, some people, if you're at goal and you've already lost all the weight you need to lose, you will get back to where you were. For those of you that have the insulin resistance and have a little bit extra weight, you will lose a modicum of weight, and then you will gain back some of it, but not all of it. So if you lose in a week's time, let's say 12 pounds, and then you start eating again, you might gain back 7, 8, 9 of that, but you cumulatively had a loss. This is why you do multiple fasts a year, so that you can add up those cumulative gains. So if you have a net loss of 3 pounds every time you do a 7-day fast, then if you do 6 of those in a year, which is not that many, 7-day fasts in a year, and you lose 3 pounds each time, by the end of the year, you've lost almost 20 pounds, 18 to 20 pounds. That's the way to think about it. Katie Caddick says, cooking for kids all the time, feeding little ones, cleaning everything, and once you're done, repeat the cycle. If you have no kids, no excuses. See, Kat has little ones in her house, so she knows. She's imparting wisdom on us. Ketoholic said, I lost 7 pounds, gained back 3. So you had a net loss of 4 pounds. That's the way to do it. Is pink Himalayan sea salt okay? Yeah, you can use pink Himalayan sea salt. I happen to like Redmons real salt because of the extra minerals that you get in it that you don't always get from pink Himalayan. And pink Himalayan is a generic term for any kind of colored rock salt. And not all of them are legit. Redmons real salt is pretty darn legit. That's why I like them. How much magnesium and potassium? As needed. On this one here, 36 milligrams of magnesium in a half a teaspoon serving, 22 milligrams of potassium, 220 milligrams of sodium, 446 milligrams of chloride, and 28 milligrams of sulfate in these fasting drops from Keto Ciao. So, can you drink ice? So, Vero, I think that is a flavored water. Anything that's flavored has a sweetener in it, it's going to stoke hunger. So do what you want to do, but when you start having hunger from drinking those ice in the midst of doing a fast, don't blame it on the fasting. That's all I say. And people do the same thing to keto. They say, well, I had the keto bar and I had a Quest bar and it's keto. Okay, well, there's where you went wrong. So the same with fasting. Don't do things that are outside of the parameters here of water and salt and electrolytes only. If you do, and you start to have problems, I would say it's those things and not the fasting itself. Did I mention I still nurse a little one with all my extended fast? Wow, that's hardcore, Kitty Caddick. How much water should you drink in a day for a short female? Well, as needed. I want this to become intuitive, guys. I know we love prescriptive. Give me the macronutrient ratios. Tell me exactly what to eat. How much of this, how much of that? We all in our brains. And can I just tell you, that's diet mentality. And I'm so over it. How much water do you need in a day is how much is your body telling you need. Because I don't know how much water your body's going to be dumping in the midst of a fast. You've got to determine that. You've got to analyze that and see how it works in your body. How soon into the fasting do you add salt to water? Whenever you want. I say from day one. Stay ahead of it. Is there a specific go time on the 5th? Actually, it's on the 4th. Your last meal on July the 4th is when you start. And so, yeah. Just bought the audiobook to the Complete Guide to Fasting. Your voice on the audio is so assuring. Thank you. I've done quite a few audiobooks. Don't have a giant meal before you start. You'll get a bigger hunger pangs. Thank you for that, Jesse. That's a great tip. Sometimes I get stomach pain when I try to fast. My doc wants to put me on a PPI. Do you suggest I don't attempt fasting? Well, you gotta look into why you're getting stomach pain, Lisa. I think that'll be a big help. Thanks so much for all the information. I have your book. It's amazing. Coupled with these videos is priceless. So guys, the bottom line in this Jimmy Rants, we're talking all about fasting. We got this big water fasting challenge coming up. What are your major concerns with doing a 7-day water and salt fasting? We covered a whole lot of concerns that people have, and hopefully by now you realize a lot of them really aren't based on anything that you need to truly be concerned about. So keep up with me on jimmyrants.com. If you miss any of the past episodes, we're going to have all the videos embedded right there for you as a resource. So if you can't make it to all the lives, I get it. Try to be at most of the lives because we're going to impart some wisdom on you, and I'm going to interact with you, especially during the fast, which starts July the 5th. So guys, hang in there. We're going to be back again real soon with more Jimmy Rants fasting videos. So until next time, we'll see you then.